What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. What I've realized is that most people are just looking for someone to blame. And I've gathered this sentiment because it's much different in real life than it is online. I think online, most people have the opportunity to really say what it is that they feel because they can kind of hide behind a computer. They can hide behind avatars. They can hide behind a screen name. And they don't have to necessarily be accountable for what it is that they say. And so it's a different conversation, right? But I think that it's a difference between taking responsibility and holding people accountable and looking for someone to blame. I'm just making sure that my flight time is what it is. Departing. All right, cool. So I think that most people are just looking for someone to blame. Your circumstances are like, it is what it is. You was born how you was born. There are some things that you can control and some things that you can't control. You can't control who your parents are. You can't control what color you were. You can't control whether you were male or female. You can't control some things, right? But most people don't control the controllables. And so when they look at their circumstances, especially once you start to become an adult, once you get in your 20s, 30s, 40s, it really doesn't matter what you were or who you are because you can't change the dynamics by which you exist. Then at that point, it becomes taking ownership and personal responsibility of your circumstances. And as long as you have two hands, feet, legs, you're in your right mind, which means that you can think clearly, you need to start to divest yourself from what happened to you in your past in order to start taking control of your future. Now, let me switch over a little bit and talking about holding people accountable, because holding people accountable is much different than taking responsibility. Two things can be true at the same time, and people hate when I say that, but it's absolutely accurate. Two things can be true at the same time. I can hold somebody accountable for not being what they're supposed to be, but it does not absolve me from doing what I'm supposed to do in order to get what it is that I need. So for example, let's just say hypothetically that my parents was trash, right? But the fact that I'm able to identify my parents was trash, which my parents was phenomenal, which makes it easy for me to be able to use this as an example. But the fact that I can identify, yeah, your parents was trash, mean that you can then start to realize the mistakes that they made and then own whatever it is that you are, own what your circumstance is. If you see that your family had raised you wrong, and I see guys do this all the time, right? In a positive way. I see guys say, you know what? My dad was trash. He was never there for me, so I'm not gonna have a kid and not be there for them. That's holding them accountable and then taking ownership and personal responsibility. What I then see people do is they go do whatever it is that they want to do. They in their right mind, they know right from wrong and all of this other type of stuff. And they take that residue from whatever their past is, and then they use that as an excuse for them to be able to do what they want to do instead of owning what their situation is. They didn't learn from it. They didn't look at it and say, you know what, I'm gonna do things differently. They let that residue soak in, and then they use that as the basis in order to make an excuse for why they're able to get away with whatever it is that they're getting away with, which they're not getting away with it because regardless of who you blame, you still got to be you. If you get fired from your job, and every time you get fired from your job it's always somebody else's fault, you still getting fired from your job. And so at some point, you got to wake up and say, you know what? I got to do things differently because I don't want to continue to be in this space where I don't have gainful employment, where I'm not making money, where nothing is working out for me, and I want to do things differently. I want different results. I actually want to be rich. But then me sitting here and doing this instead of doing this is not going to get me anywhere but more talking points on the internet that does not yield results. So at some point, I don't understand it. I don't. I really don't understand it. I don't understand the gender argument. I can acknowledge that, yeah, single mothers are doing this and that, and absent fathers are doing this and that. But then I need to be the person that I would want my daughter to marry. I need to be the person that I would want society to reflect as far as taking care of business and not getting caught up in no nonsense and not getting arrested and all that other type of stuff. Like, you should not be making the same mistake twice for every single mistake that you make. It's silly. Like I said, two things can be true at the same time. You can hold people accountable. But what's the point if you can't actually yield better results, or you're not going to learn from the mistakes, or you're going to pass that same generational trauma on to the next person when you knew better? You knew the way that you grew up was trash. You did not like the way you grew up. You didn't like the rats and the roaches. You didn't like being raised in the hood. So why would you then bring somebody into this world and do the exact same thing to them? Why would you bring somebody in? Why would you have a kid out of wedlock when you didn't like being raised by a single mother? Why would you exist in poverty, when you didn't like growing up in poverty, and then you're going to raise your kids in poverty, and then you're going to justify it by saying, well, they did it in the years before us. We got raised in poverty, so now you're going to do that to somebody else. No, you're not right. No, you can't justify your argument like that. And no, you cannot continue to pass on all of these bad curses to the next generation just because they did it to you. That's not how life works. Or you can sit here, you can be in these silos, you can be on sister code, right? You can be on bro code. You can continue to champion the things that's worse for us, which makes black culture trash. There's some trash white culture, there's some trash cultures, and all across the board. Culture is culture, whatever it is that you want to identify it as, whatever label that you want to put on it, yeah, that's cool, fun. Find your tribe, live in your victim Olympics, and then exist and have a great time. But at the same time, for me, I'm always an advocate for change. I'm an advocate for doing the thing that I would want other people to do. I have to be a reflection of the thing that I'm advocating for. I would never tell anybody to do anything that I'm not doing myself. And I think that people need to get out of their feelings, get out of the victim Olympics, and stop trying to lean on the fact that you're holding somebody else. First of all, you can't even hold nobody else accountable unless you hold yourself accountable. Get the beam out of your own eye before you start to look at somebody else and say, yo, you did this, or you are this way. And I see that junk happening all the time. I cannot tell you how often I see a single mother, and don't get me wrong, you can come back from that, having a conversation and holding other women accountable, or having talking points based off of what they want other women to do when they have not first taken responsibility for the situation that they put themselves in, because then they will say the same thing and they will lean into that same mindset of victim mentality before they even have a conversation with somebody else. Then I have to question the integrity. Then I have to question who it is that I'm talking to. Am I talking to a chameleon, or am I talking to somebody that's actually looking for change? What are their intentions? And your intentions is often reflected in the things that you're doing, not the things that you say. The things that you say is just a cherry on top. Anyways, that's just my mindset. That's my thoughts. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, Anton Daniels. If y'all need to get in touch with me, make sure you email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com. I'm gonna get you scheduled for a Zoom call or a personal call. And make sure y'all check out the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And then the Alpha Juice Company, use the discount codes. Before you order, don't order without the discount codes. I have to go. I'm about to go into the Sky Club, take my vitamins, and then I have some flights to catch. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.